There you go.
Yeah,
I just like it's a light brew.
It's
Oh yeah,
that's more ice than you usually have. I guess it's daytime.
It's more
in the coffee.
That's right, in the coffee. It's more
It's an
coffee
afternoon. It's an
Actually,
afternoon
from
pick
the
me
angle
up.
I have, it does look like
Yeah.
it looks like you're having like looks like ice makes it blend into like a cream color, so it almost looks like you've got an iced coffee with milk in it.
It is a nice coffee with milk. I don't know
That's
what you
it
mean.
is.
Looks.
That's exactly what it is.
It's a rare daylight edition of the Handsome Hour. Everybody looks brighter. It looks far less goth than most nights.
I know. I have the windows open.
Look,
There's
nobody's
sun
in a.
outside.
Oh, you're in a hoodie.
I am. Was I not supposed to be?
I was gonna say. Usually, all three of us are in some sort of hoodie.
It's cold
it's
here.
cold.
It's cold. It's cold here. It's cold, but there's daylight.
It's 40. Actually, no. It warmed up. It's probably in the 60s now. So.
Andrew Day says you all aren't drunk enough for this. That is
just
an
give us-
evergreen statement.
Exactly.
If there's a, in fact, that
I think that was a delayed comment from during the Wisconsin
I was going
game.
to say that's a Purdue football tagline. You all aren't drunk enough for this. In fact, I sense a shirt coming. Purdue football 2023. You all aren't drunk enough for this. Oh yes, Chris Harder is in the chat, and he noticed right away the Boiler Guy was wearing his CJ Poppins shirt. Mine is in the wash. Just want to be clear.
Yeah, mine. I wore mine yesterday as I tested out my new impulse buy, which was a portable fire pit, which now means I've just got to go to another game. There's nothing else.
Winter tailgating is on the table.
I have to.
I was admiring photos of the last time. The last time Jay Money and Chris got to speak to one another, and Anish was there as well.
It's CJ Poppins is a handsome man, handsome pilot. He's the stereotypical handsome pilot. I mean,
he's the stereotypical handsome Purdue grad. Really, they're all just like
true.
Super interesting
Worldly.
pilot.
Except the three of us that happen to be on this thing called the Handsome Hour. It's almost like it's a bit.
It does feel like it's a bit. It feels a bit like that.
The photographs of me and CJ Poppins work out well for maintaining anonymity because the photographer was either intoxicated or had the shakes because the pictures came across very blurry.
I don't know who the photographer would be.
Yeah. Ultimate Boiler has something that I'd like to address right away.
Yeah, let's get on. Let's get to this. Wait. Welcome to the Boiled Sports Handsome Happy Hour. It's Jay, Boiler Dad,
Cheers.
and Anish. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. It is a Friday afternoon edition. If you listen to this recorded, it was recorded at 3 p.m. on Friday during a bye week. So who cares? Anyway,
it's the Handsome Hour Happy Hour.
Let's move on to the. Sorry, you were coming to this Ultimate Boiler comment. I'd like to.
Ultimate Boiler says I sense a Juan Johnson shirt coming, and this is a reference.
It's not Juan Johnson. It's Juan Wanson.
Juan Wanson.
Wait a minute. Is that really what it said? It didn't.
That's
say
what I said. That's what I said.
You really can't say both. By the way, I used to say this about Julio Jones. You can't say Julio Jones.
Yeah, exactly. You can't just pick and choose.
We're going to be consistent with our grammatical
with our pronunciations. Julio, yeah. Either a soft J or a hard
anarchy.
J. Yeah,
one or the other. We can't have both. That's like
So what's the backstory between?
The backstory is this week. A couple fellow Purdue fans who also I think have a podcast. I think they're about. Yes. We're in a how do you say saturated environment right now because
Renaissance, if you will.
Right?
I don't know that
you were here at the tail end of Danny Hope and the Daryl Hazel era. All of you toiling away.
Exactly.
I wrote about every one of those games. We wrote about every one of them. We podcasted about every one of them.
It was a difficult period of time. But so some other gentlemen that have a podcast, they got together and they voted. They did a snake draft and they picked starting fives of Purdue basketball players. One of them being Juan Johnson, one of them being one of the pickers being Ultimate Boiler, I believe. And some of the
Boiler
picks,
Express. It's the Boiler Express podcast, just to give.
Boiler Express podcast. Yeah. Some of the picks make no sense to me, and I tried to express this as nicely and politely and friendly as I could.
You didn't like
lot
Bubba
of good
Day
players were left on the bench sitting there.
Bubba Day as the second round pick. You didn't like the Bubba Day pick.
A lot were left on the bench, but more to the point, all of the absolute transcendent players were put on one team somehow. I'm not quite sure I mean, let's just while we're here so we love other Purdue podcasts. So good for you guys for doing it. This is all love. Let's just be clear here. But we're coming after you.
We always say, let's all.
We're coming after you. We're coming after you right now. Here, if you're looking on our stream, I don't know how well you guys can see this, but is it decent? Can you see it or no?
It's decent. If you could pinch zoom in, you can see it. Yeah,
you can see it.
Okay. Oh, I can pinch. That's right.
So look at that.
The first one is a team of Dakota Mathias, Carson Edwards, Caleb First, Vince Edwards, Zach Edey. Okay.
That really sounds like a Purdue lineup. Let's be honest. Just sounds like a Purdue team.
There's some hustle in there. There's some, absolutely.
There's some grit in there. There is grit in there.
Oh, whoa.
Just on the floor.
Let me jump to Chris's team because you want to
talk all that made me laugh. So Chris's team made me laugh so much.
Chris Kramer, Ryan Klein, Robbie Hummel, Caleb Swanigan, and Isaac Haas.
How did I miss that?
Caleb's out there with the all grit crowd.
Oh my gosh. Go to Frank's team. Go to Frank's
team. Frank has got PJ Thompson, Etwan Moore, Ray Davis, Trevion Williams, and AJ Ham-Munns. And I like that team. But Russ's team, this is what's absurd about this. Somehow they drafted a snake draft. And Russ ended up with Lewis Jackson, probably the best Purdue point guard of the last, 20 years? Something like that?
It's tough not to say that. If at minimum he's one or two.
He's got Brian Cardinal, who, of the all grit team, he's probably at the top.
He's the grittiest of all grit.
Right. Then he's got Jaden Ivey and Glenn Robinson on the team. And Juan Johnson. That's insane.
That is nuts. The fact that these other guys let it happen.
Exactly. This is not on Russ. Russ, great job. Great phenomenal job.
You stole your friend's lunch money.
Because I don't know, man. That's criminal what you did to them.
But it wasn't Jawan Johnson. It's just Juan Johnson.
Just Juan.
Or Juan Wanson, as I like to think of him.
I love it.
Just because it's tremendous.
And I don't know if you guys saw the polling results. Shockingly, Russ's team, 71.5% of the vote.
Who are the 29% that didn't pick that team?
Must have picked the Chris team. Must have picked the Grit and Heart team. Yes, come on.
I just think they'd be smarter out there. I don't know. I just think that they'd be, like coaches on the floor.
Higher IQ, higher basketball IQ. Of course.
Higher IQ. Oh my goodness.
Higher basketball IQ.
Niche. How dare you? Oh man.
That made me laugh. Good work, guys.
That was great. And I give you guys credit because one thing that they clearly do is they put some thought into their podcast. So
we used to do that, and Daryl Hazel beat that out of us.
He did. He beat that out of us. What do you mean we used to? We never put any effort into this. But planning a draft.
I tried to. No,
now,
we did.
I'd like to go back to Bullard's point that, leaving aside the jokes there, that was from 1990 to the present. And I think you felt like there were a few people omitted.
It wasn't quite 19. It wasn't quite 1990. It was like
90. It was 90.
Yeah, but even that, it was really just Brian. It was just Brian Cardinal.
It was mostly like 98.
Brian Cardinal, Glenn Robinson, and then a skip to 20.
And then the Painter era.
6, yeah. Mercy.
No Brad Miller. No Chad Austin.
No Brad Miller. Zoe. No Zoe.
No Brandon Brantley.
I mean, and
Zoe?
to me, so honestly, this is an interesting conversation for me because it's like what old basketball, because it's like, the reason that you pick all of these newer players is because basketball is different now. It's more fast paced, it's more perimeter oriented. Sure. To me, the clear no-brainer where if you put them in modern training, like Rick Mount would be an awesome modern player. And so to me, like that's the sharpshooter that I think like would make a ton of sense in the modern game.
But they made that clear. They weren't going before 90, and I was fine with that because I was like, first I thought, to me, one of the guys that would, I think, have had a slightly different game was Joe Barry Carroll if he would have played in the modern era, because he was athletic and long and quick. I know he wasn't a shooter then. Here's the guy, though, that I have such umbrage with. Brad Miller more than anybody, because Brad Miller was a guard in high school.
He was awesome, man. He would have been awesome.
He played in the NBA forever because he was so skilled.
Undrafted. Played in the NBA forever.
I have my most camp shirt that I have, my campiest shirt that I have is of all of Brad Miller's, or at least most of Brad Miller's jerseys, like just his jersey numbers, and it just says Brad on it. That's it. It's the best shirt I own. I love it so much.
Where'd you get that? That's awesome.
The internet is a strange place.
It's a strange and beautiful place.
Strange and wonderful place. Speaking of the internet, where I like to go for my shirts, guys.
Yeah.
I like to go to Martin Vintage to get some shirts. They're not strange. They're just incredible. They got a new one. It's got flexing old timey Pete with a bell tower and a engineering fountain over it. You should check it out. If you guys, I don't know if you go on the internet.
What if I want a discount? What if I don't want to pay?
If you want a discount, hold on. I don't think they offer. Wait a second. If you enter Boiled at checkout, you get 15%.
Gasp.
What
if you wanted to get one of these black and gold tumblers that also double as a
Boiled Sports fans only site?
Wonderful.
Fans only.
BoiledSports.com. Click on the store button. Buy it.
It's great.
There is no discount code even for us.
There is.
We had to pay $400 for us.
If you enter Boiled at checkout, I made it easy for everyone. If you enter Boiled at checkout, I think you get 15. I don't remember what I made it, but you get a discount.
You get it for free. This is
not free. I was trying to move some of our stuff. So because people don't buy it.
I will say that, Jay, you're going to get heavy pressure by the board towards Christmas to even ratchet up that,
I could do
that discount.
I could just start giving away stuff.
We'll see.
Hey, I made it clear that if you, in fact, I'm not even going to repeat it because if you don't listen,
you're here on the happy hour with us.
If you don't pay attention to the thing, I told everybody there was a way they could get a free Boiled Sports item sent to them if they did something several podcasts ago, and then nobody's done it.
All of you lazy people.
Fine.
Oh, I know. You offered like just free prizes.
I said, yes, I will send you something in your size or a tumbler or something that you will enjoy.
Their choice, I believe.
Yeah, basically, because it's like, if you're a size we don't have, I'll give you the apparel, I'll give you a drink glass. But nobody did the thing I said. Now, the trick is it had something to do with the stadium and there were no home games for a couple weeks. And I think that may have been, it's weird. It's almost like they have the attention span of us.
But well, I'm not going to say that. Somebody I know took that photo.
Yes. Well, that's the second piece of the puzzle there. I didn't say anything but a photo.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I didn't.
Okay.
We just didn't want.
Well, they're gonna have to go. All these people who are really interested, they're gonna have to
go back and listen to all of them.
Exactly. You got to watch the tape.
All the Handsome Hours together.
Gotta watch.
So it's funny. I listened to that last week's Handsome Hour. I wanted to wait till I was on the road coming back from SEC country, so I did, and I listened to it with my family. And you guys said some disparaging remarks about my family.
We did.
We would never do that.
I don't think we did. I think we.
No, I loved it. I got to tell you. So the most hurtful thing that happened during me streaming that show is my wife, Mrs. Boiler Dowd, says, "These guys are really funny. Is it always this funny?" As if, number one, she's never listened.
Right. She doesn't have any idea.
Number two, the funniest part was not there.
Right. Well,
we have a special guest.
Oh, look at this! Look at this kid! Look at this kid!
What's he wearing? Oh, it's a school. Okay, for a second, I thought
Boiler Dowd's glasses is what he's wearing.
No, for a second, I thought he had on a Butler sweatshirt, and I was gonna.
No, how dare he?
No.
Georgia Bulldogs, go be happy. Go somewhere, be happy.
I would say that wasn't even. I didn't feel like that was one of our funnier shows, quite honestly. So I'm glad Mrs. Boiler Dowd.
There were funny parts, and she felt like she was involved in some of the funny parts. I think
here's the thing: within the time span of recording that, J Money and I had spent like 86 hours together just talking. And then we were like, "Hold on, wives and family, we have to talk some more."
And yes, said, "Sorry, honey, I have to go talk to Anish for 2 more hours." It makes a lot of sense.
It's been a while.
Wives are always very understanding of that type of thing.
Yeah. No, they love it.
Very understanding.
They love it.
Yeah. You guys agree with this idea? Because this is something that's floated around. It's become an internet thing that men can get closer to one another just sitting in a room naming old players.
Yes, that was a bit that was going on. That was a viral tweet about how.
I think it's very, very, very
hey, man.
Like,
dude, that's the entire premise of this show. Hey, man, Corey Sheets. Shout out Corey Sheets. Just tremendous. Tremendous.
Yeah.
Well, it's, we don't have much. We're not going to talk about, real stuff. So,
I know, exactly.
I saw a study one
real
time.
Emotions. I'm not going to do that.
No. It talked about the way, so it was like the study was they put two two little girls in a room, okay, and they would just be random. They would put them in there, okay, and the room had the same things in them. I think it had a television, it had some toys to play with and stuff like that, and they could come in and do whatever they wanted. The kids could, and they were the same age, little girls, and then they'd have little boys, and the boys would come in and they would turn on the TV almost every time and sit and not say anything or just laugh at whatever was on. And then they asked them after. None of the girls would turn the TV on, okay, and afterwards they asked him, how did you like spending time with this person? Would you consider him a friend? The boy's like, oh yeah, he's good friend.
Yeah.
He's a good friend. And they didn't say anything to each other. And the girls were like talking and playing. And they're like, I don't know. I don't really know if I know her.
But see, those things that somebody's photo's ringing, that could be applied to adult men and women as well. You could go to a bar or go to a game.
Yeah.
In fact, there was a Buffalo Wild Wings commercial among their many terrible ones. They had one, I believe, where two guys were celebrating together like they were best of friends. And at the end of the commercial, the girl's like, hey, who's that? He's like, I don't know. I just
that. Right.
Yeah, I think that's, Anish and I continue to make friends at Purdue games every time we go.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of great people in the stand.
I'm sure you guys influence a lot of people.
I think we already talked about it. We had a 30th birthday party behind us of Nebraska bros. Mm-hmm. And man, I'm glad Purdue won that game. Man,
it was J Money's turn to snap that game. I already took my turn.
The problem is you guys gotta get
out.
If you buy season tickets again, you got to get out.
No, I am.
You got to get out of that.
I am. My section, I think I was telling you, my section is being affected by the renovations in the student section. Right. So I've gotten a call saying you're affected, so you get priority on relocating. I don't know what that means, but I will definitely be taking advantage of that. And really, my main requirement will be I do not want to be in the visitor section. And more to the point, this occurred to me when we were walking in that day, and I said this to Anish there. What 1950s bullshit is it to hold, 4,000 seats for the other team? Well, come on down to the football. Like, no, but you don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to do that anymore.
Give them 1,000
seats. With the secondary market, if you want to get in somewhere, you can get in somewhere. Make it a little harder. I think there were stories about how Tennessee was refusing to sell tickets to people with Alabama area codes or something. And this happens in the pro level at different sports. It's kind of a small time move to not let somebody buy tickets from another city. But like Purdue and certain schools still act like it's the 50s. Like Morgan Burke is still making decisions. And they say, well, this is the allotment for the visitors. Why? Why is there an allotment for visitors? Purdue's selling games out. Someone explain to me, why are we doing that? Why are we letting there be two red sections in Ross-Ade when Wisconsin or Nebraska?
Because we're gentle beings. We're gentle beings.
No.
We went to the when we went again, just because it's more fun to talk about the game 2 weeks ago than the game 1 week ago. When we went to the end zone
because it's a Nebraska topic.
Exactly.
Got to get to it. Yeah.
we went to the end zone. And there were people watching CSI there. There were 2 extra TVs, by the way. There's just the one big monitor, and it's like immediately above you. So you're like craning your neck. You basically have to lay on the ground to see it. And then in those 2 reserved sections, under the tents, there are like 2 TVs. And one of the tents had one person at the bar watching the TV, watching CSI. It was tremendous. It was fantastic. Shout out to that person watching CSI. We should probably have more TVs with the game on. It's like
maybe.
It was actively difficult to see what was happening with the game from Morgantown. It was difficult because, like Anish said, you could look at the main screen, but it was literally directly above you, like this close, straight up.
Right.
Or you could try to crane over the TVs that weren't all on the game, or you could try to see the game itself. But the patio is.
How did they allow that to happen where they could change to something that wasn't the game?
It's amazing.
It's so good. It's so good.
Because they've seen Purdue football before. Right?
It reminds me of walking
Sometimes you just want to turn the channel.
It reminds me of walking into a random townie bar. And Die Hard on TBS is playing with the full, with all of the commercials. Oh, and nobody's talking. It's smoking. Obviously, it's a bar where smoking is still
allowed.
There
were 2 Lafayette Townie bars at the end of the street where our rental house was. And I told Anish this, and he said, go inside and tell me if Die Hard is on one of the TVs and if anyone's talking at all. and I was not brave enough to go in.
One of them was called like Spurs or something like that. What was it? It was it looked like an old saloon. Like it looked like an old timey, like you go in and like you push the barn door, or the sliding
Saloon doors?
saloon doors a lot. It's like pa-dink, 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 to announce
Ponderosa
your
used
presence.
to have those when I was a kid. Bonanza had those, and I love that because you'd go in to order your
Bonanza.
steak in your zigzag
man.
line.
I've had some Salisbury steaks at Ponderosa back in my day.
Dude, no, it was the quality, high grade A steak. It's the good stuff.
Straight from
But you go,
Freeze.
and I was like, "Oh, this is the best thing." I love that.
Walk
It's
in
so
and
good.
like toothpick.
Yeah, oh,
Right,
yeah.
exactly.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right. So let's spend a minute on Knickerbocker Saloon. Might be what it was. Is that
Maybe
it?
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh,
I don't
man.
care
You
enough.
know, you get to say something like that, and the locals are like, "Oh yeah, that's the bar right there." And get some Lafayette people on. So I did want to address. Well, we'll get back to this in a minute, but there are a few things about the Wisconsin debacle that we did want to address, and one wanted to see what.
No, no. Keep going.
We need to
We'll
talk?
get there. We'll get there.
Well, Boiler Dad was extremely upset during his post game. Not upset, that's the wrong word. He was angry.
I'm telling you, I let it simmer too. I let
I
it
know.
cool
I
down.
know. I know the different. It's like the Fran. Remember the Fran faces?
Right.
I know what level you were
faces.
at.
How have we not
DEFCON
done
Boiler
this?
Dad. Yeah. Slightly agitated. Default state.
Yeah. That's me.
Well, I just wanted to know, since we've gotten to Friday, it's a happy hour Friday. Are you still as angry as you were? Or, and this is kind of my view, and I wanted to see what you think of this. Aren't there two ways of looking at this? You've got the in close view and the high level view, right? If you look at the high level, if I told you get the 3-1 October with road wins, beating a ranked Minnesota, getting a monkey off the back there, and you do have a loss in there that frustrates you, don't you say, well, that's progress overall over the last however many years. That's a step forward. I understand in the micro sense that day it was infuriating because there's no excuse for it to look that. But I think you can lose that game given the injuries and the lack of a bye yet. I think you can lose the game without it being as anger-inducing as it was for you, right? I think there's a way you can lose that where you say, all right, well, sure wish we had them after the bye. But it was the way they lost it down 21-0 in the first quarter that I think.
That's it.
Right.
Okay, so one of the things I listened to on the way back from SEC country, I was on the tail end of my drive, so I'm within striking distance.
Oh, I remember you got home as the game ended, didn't you?
Right.
Yeah.
And we were hoping at one point we were like, let's hustle, let's get back from the second half, and literally they're like, nope,
let's turn it off.
Right.
Let's put on Law and Order.
Yeah, we had Law and Order on the radio, which is hard to find. But we're
very tough to follow.
Listening to Purdue down by 3 touchdowns. I went on a tirade, and it was not like so. This is funny. I don't know about you guys. When I drive now, and I have a good friend, he's the same age as me. He said this week, he said, "Do you ever if you get tired on the road, are you not as trusting in yourself to fight off the tiredness?" I'm like, oh my gosh, totally. Like, and so my thing now is because I drive a little bit for my job, I'll go places. I'll get out, I'll pull off side of the road, walk around the car, or go get something to, get a coffee, whatever. Just walk around the car, just get the blood moving. Then I'm like, okay, I'm fine. Good for another 2 hours, whatever. So I said, my wife, I said, hey, I'm fading hard here. I'm trying to fight it. I've been smacking myself in the leg to try to wake up. It's not working. I said, why don't you drive? So we pull off. She gets in. I get in the back seat, fall asleep for like 10, 15 minutes. I'm like, dag nabbit. The game starts like 5 minutes later. So I turn that on. So I go from asleep to red hot angry. And like
I'm ready to drive again. No, I don't.
Oh my gosh. Like there was no fatigue at all. They could have just, if they had kicked it off 20 minutes earlier, 30 minutes earlier, it would have been fine. I went on a curse laden rant and I feel so bad. I guarantee you my dad's listening to this at some point, taped, and we ate lunch together today. And he said, you really should probably not talk that way. I said, the kids have heard it, sadly. And I was just apologizing. I would say something, and then I said, sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Then there was a pick six, and I would say something, and I'd be like, sorry, guys. Sorry. And you guys know that I'm a person of faith. This is like something I know is bad, and I still can't stop.
Which
It's
only
so
makes you
horrible.
angrier because when you realize what you're mad about.
Oh,
you're
it's
just that
so
much-
dumb. It's so dumb. I mean, we all
Exactly.
know this is dumb, right? I mean,
Yes,
that's like somebody
yes.
asked a question in the margin a little
It's
bit
real
ago.
to me, man. It's real to me.
Well, it's real dumb. Let's just say it is very real and it's very dumb. And we maybe you guys are better at it. I'm only 47. Maybe by the time I'm 60, I'll be at the point where I can actually control my temper about a
Oh, yeah, I'm
football
sure.
game. I got talked down to by somebody on Twitter this week because he said, I really don't get angry about these games. Well, congratulations. Good on you, bro. There's part of the reason I still have a site years later and still not getting paid, right? It's because I have my priorities out of whack.
In illness.
It's an illness.
Yes, it's a disorder. That's what when I had to explain to people that I was driving out to Indiana, and I'd say, because I have a disorder. Don't ask why. Don't ask why I'm doing it.
Just,
Don't try to make sense of it.
It's not going to make any sense to you, so
Nope.
don't even try. Exactly.
Yeah. Nope. Don't just.
No, so I said to Jay right before we started recording, right before, so we were all on time, which is weird, and then technology didn't fight back, which is weird on my end. But I said to him, the thing that made me most mad is probably not the fact that Purdue's really solid, good quarterback threw a pick six inexplicably, or that the defense looked like it was like a bunch of eighth graders playing at times. The thing that bothered me was that I started believing and then I had completely bought in. I was like, yep, Purdue's winning. And I think I sent you guys a text that morning, Purdue by 2 scores.
Yes.
I was absolutely sure. It's not only going to turn over, it's going to turn over in the fourth quarter. It's going to be comfortable. And why the hell shouldn't it have been comfortable?
Oh,
I
absolutely.
still don't get it.
So
I still don't get it.
So if you look at the second, third, fourth quarter, Purdue kind of, again, it almost was like Purdue took a quarter to wake up and played evenly with Wisconsin for the rest
they
of
did
the
after
game.
that.
But
you just can't spot teams a 3-touchdown lead.
It seems like you can't spot
okay.
Wisconsin a 21-point lead in Wisconsin. It seems like that's a bad idea. And to me, like, that's also why, like, you play that game, 10 times. And how many times does Wisconsin get out to a 14-0 lead, like 3 minutes into the game? Right.
I don't think it happens again in 10 games, honestly.
So I do think first of all, I was not in on this because it's like I will never see Purdue win not just versus Wisconsin, but in Wisconsin. Are you kidding me? Yeah, no. Maybe we'll catch them one day.
It's such a weird thing to think during my lifetime, Purdue dominated Wisconsin. Like, I remember the tail end of it. I was at the first homecoming where Purdue scheduled Wisconsin and Alvarez was there, and Purdue beat the hell out of them. And then, like, the next year, Wisconsin figured everything out about Purdue, and all of a sudden, they're like, okay, not only are we better, we're bigger and stronger and badder than you guys, right?
Right.
But that used to be one of the two teams Purdue would always schedule for homecoming. It was Northwestern and Wisconsin.
Yep.
And my dad says back in the day, it was Iowa. Those three teams were really, really bad. And those three teams actually have been pretty damn good. Northwestern, little blip right now. But Wisconsin has been consistently very good. Look at what they've done for the last 30 years. They have been awesome.
It's a foundation.
And even on their down years, they're better than Purdue. This year, they are not better than Purdue, though. No. That's the thing. I'll die on that hill. They are not better than Purdue.
Right. You're right.
But they look like they were Purdue's dad.
If Purdue had pulled out the game against Penn State, if they had not given up that last touchdown, I think you could be saying right now the exact same thing. Purdue's not better than Penn State, but they beat them that day. I'm saying a reverse of what you're saying, right? Like, so these things do happen, although that wasn't on the final minute, I realize. But
no, but it's in the first couple of minutes, right? Which is like,
four in a row. Purdue had won 4 in a row. I just want to provide some balance here, and I'd like to address.
I actually want to kind of go back to something that you said earlier, Jay, which was there is two very rational ways of looking at this, right? Yeah. Both equally fine. Being pissed off in the moment, looking just at Wisconsin,
not rational.
Just like it's rational. It's very rational. Like, both of these are very rational things, which is like you produce the better team. You're going in here. They're on. I think that this talking point, they're on an interim coach. That's not real, because like nobody was let go except for the head coach. So it's the exact same staff except for a new head coach. So it's not like they fired a whole mess of guys and there's an interim situation happening here. Like, this is going to be their staff.
I think neither of those
invalidate the other. They're not in their Wisconsin is not a prime Wisconsin team, and Purdue should have beat them, and they're not, and that's a reason to be angry. But then you also zoom back out and you say, Purdue has won 5 out of 8 games going into the bye week. But Purdue was pretty much running on smoke by the time that the Wisconsin game was there. What their second string cornerback was,
injuries are
was
no
a
joke
benched,
right now.
was a deep wide receiver who we hadn't even heard of.
Yeah,
right.
No.
And so like it, and you go into it, you've got good wins on the table. You've got a doable Wisconsin or a doable November slate where 3 out of 4
the division
in November
is still in your hands.
is good.
Yeah.
Division, you win out, the division is still there. Like all of these goals are still there. And then if you win 3 out of 4 in November, this is the first time that Purdue has won back-to-back 8 regular season wins since the first 2 years of Joe Tiller.
Right.
Like,
incredible.
You've got to look at this in terms of like, this is what Purdue, this is success by historic standards.
It really is. It really
but
is.
But that being said, it's not irrational to be angry about.
Well, I think what
going
you're
down
saying
immediately.
is the being angry about the Wisconsin loss and being angry about it in a vacuum on that game, that doesn't invalidate or make the success that this season still could have go away. And the success of 5 out of 8 doesn't invalidate your anger at the shitty showing against Wisconsin, right? Both can be true. And so I had someone, I think I waded into somebody replied to you.
Which is using words like failure, using words like mediocrity mentality, like your fans' mediocre mentality is the reason that, first of all, this is our favorite thing, right? It's the fans' fault that for the team's performance. That's my favorite thing. But it's like the expectation that you sold me a bill of goods. Purdue is supposed to be really good this year. Why isn't Purdue winning, like marching to 10 regular season wins? Like that anger. Well, because Purdue's never had 10 regular season wins. Never. The year that Purdue had 10 wins, it included the bowl game, I think. And so Purdue has never gone 10.
Liberty Bowl.
Purdue has never won 10 regular season in as long as we've been playing football. And so it's like, at some point, you've got to kind of realize that that this is the floor, right? That this is the season of expectations. That being said, going down 21-0 in the first 8 minutes of the Wisconsin game, not fun. You can't do that against a mediocre Wisconsin team.
Right.
So,
well, I had someone. The point I wanted to get to was that I had someone, like you were saying, kind of talking about how you have low expectations, or you need to expect more, or you need to stop talking about Hazel. And I said to the guy, he was the last regime before this one. So
and it wasn't like it was a million years ago. It was 6 years ago.
And don't say like you can't compare to it. That's literally exactly what you can do. Purdue was in an absolute cellar that you didn't know existed. And in 6 years, they're to a point where they might win 8 or 9 games for the second straight year. You can't act like, something has changed. Something huge has changed, right? Like, again, I'm not saying that you should be happy with that loss. I'm not arguing that. But I'm saying in big picture, like, something has changed. Don't act like, same old Purdue. It's not. I mean,
again, like, the same old Purdue was the eras before, which, Boiler Dowd, this real better than both of us, the eras before Tiller, which was 3 or 4 back-to-back-to-back coaches that were bad. Not mediocre, not okay, bad.
Akers was pardon me, Martin, that's wrong. Burtonette was okay. Yeah. Burtonette was very comparable to Hope. Very comparable. Okay. But he had better quarterbacks. I mean, he had Jim Everett. It's not right to say quarterbacks. He had better quarterback.
Yeah.
Jim Everett slung the damn thing and lit that place on fire. But they were like a 5 to 6 win team right then. Right. And he was super likable. That's the thing. Here's the thing. Let's look at like scales of mediocrity, right? As Purdue fans, we've dealt with different things. But one of the things I think Purdue fans hate, so you're like, okay, be mediocre. Don't cheat, right? That's probably the big one. And Akers, there was a lot of stuff happening around that didn't feel good. Okay. The next one is be really likable, be accessible.
Be fun.
Okay. I think the one after that is, what are you doing in the long run for the program? Right. So if you look at different things that have happened at Purdue, different mediocre coaches, and there have been some that have been, you're like, yeah, we could deal with that. But even those guys, it felt like the really interesting thing Purdue has had over and over. I mean, they had guys like Coletto who felt like he was like, yeah, I didn't do very well. I'm going to leave. like pretty much had resigned himself to the fact, yeah, this isn't going great. So I'm just going to head out. And everybody's like, yeah, thank you for heading out. This is good, right? Amicable departure, really. No, bad blood or ill will or any of that stuff. With Akers, a lot of people were angry at Purdue. I can tell you that, because a lot of Purdue fans thought, first off, their expectation was really high because he had won. I think he won a national title at Texas.
Yeah.
If not, he was very, very close, and his teams were good. But he was past his prime. He came to Purdue, stretched some rules. There were some guys on the team that were questionable character.
Tour.
And
it was
the
retirement tour, really. Yeah.
And so Hazel, though, took the program to new depths, literally new depths, where they were losing at a clip that was unprecedented. They had burnt down the bridges with the Indiana high school football coaches. That is such a big deal.
I was just going to say, that's not mentioned enough. Losing is one thing, but to ruin those relationships so that your pipeline dries up is...
Oh, my gosh, man. So to say nothing's changed when Braum comes in. And then the next part to say, so then there are people, like we always talk about this, there are kind of like levels of Purdue fans. Younger Purdue fans seem to not understand that Jeff Braum is good and that we should be relatively pleased and say, okay, hey, this is a good era of Purdue football.
But pushing also, you can do both, right?
Yes, that's what I was getting at. Right? Yes. Keep going. Go.
It's what we do with Coach Painter, which is we make these Sweet 16 banner jokes because, first of all, it is so fun where year in and year out, that your team is going to be one of the relevant teams in the country. Every writer's and every coach's favorite team, like every favorite program. At this point, everybody puts Painter in the top X's and O's coaches. You're always in the top 3 in the Big Ten, and you're always making the Sweet 16, right? But we make those Sweet 16 banner jokes because we know that there is a reality to break through, right? Yeah. And so you like Painter over Katie has actually raised expectations. Like Katie set them, Painter has raised them. And that's like, Katie is a Hall of Fame coach. And to raise expectations after 25 years of a Hall of Fame coach is awesome, right? There was no foundation. To your point, there was no foundation when Braum came in. And football, basketball program building is very different. But there was no foundation to build on. And so it's almost like we kind of have to look at, like, Tiller, I suppose, is the modern foundation, of Purdue football. But I would say it's kind of everything is reset now with all of the change transfer rules with Big Ten, basically the Big Two collapsed into the Big Two, and Purdue being fortunate enough to be in the Big Two, right? For this modern era, Braum is setting the foundation, right? And that is something that I don't think people quite understand how much energy it takes for it to keep a non-marquee program at the level that Purdue is at right now, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's again, all of that to say it's perfectly fine to be angry and pissed off and upset, like all of us were during the Wisconsin game. To me, honestly, I was less upset at the Wisconsin game than I was at FAU. Like, but FAU was probably
you did resign yourself. Purdue was losing, though. That's the thing. You were smart about this, and I wasn't.
But it's not smart. You should have expected it. All rational thought would be to expect it. But I just have the Wisconsin hex. I
want to do something right now, Nish. This is serious. I'm like not kidding at all right now. Like, I've been wrestling with this, okay? And I had an interaction with somebody on Twitter yesterday who just talked about. He said something along the lines of, well, you can't expect Purdue to beat Ohio State. I'm like, you can't expect them to beat Ohio State, but they've won 4 out of the last 10. So they do it better than anybody in the conference. And at Ross-Ade, they're damn good versus Ohio State. Yeah. Okay?
I think it's 3 out of 5
I go to that game saying, hey, house money. It's going to be fun. You have a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks where Ohio State fans are nervous, which is fun.
Terrified.
Oh, it's so good, right? But I'm serious about this. I'm not kidding. And Jay, you've seen me change as a fan more than Anish has, but Anish has seen me change though too, because we've been doing this a while.
Like a butterfly.
I was a bright-eyed optimist as a Purdue fan when Boiled Sports started. Okay, so that's 16 years ago. Okay, is that fair, Jay, or am I being unfair? Was I an optimist? It's hard to remember.
I know. See, this is what we're talking about. Memory cells are gone.
But I would
still
consider
doing the
myself,
math.
I was an optimist then, okay? And I am not now. And I want to apologize to the fan that's an optimist. If I have dragged you into this, I call it realism now because I've watched this too many times now to not be optimistic or to not be pessimistic. That's a shame. That is a shame. If you're a fan and you just go into it and you're like, yep, they're going to win next year. Like, let's remember back to our old pal, Tyler Trent. When we had him on the shows, he was hilarious and refreshing because he thought literally Purdue's going to win every game. Basketball or football, they're going to win every game. Part of that was because he was a relative new Purdue fan. Yes. He was an IU fan who became a Purdue student, became a Purdue fan. And he was like, I'm all in. I'm all in. And he was every time. We always kind of laughed at it, right? I think that was like, we're like, we love having it around. It's good. It's good. Right. But we were also, when he'd get off the phone, we'd be like, don't know if I agree with that optimism. We don't see Purdue going to the Final Four next year, right?
It's okay to have it.
Yeah, it is okay. And I'm serious. I do want to apologize to people that are optimistic. If I ever bring you down because of my thoughtful pessimism, whatever you want to talk about it, it's not very good. It is not good. I wish I could shake it because I can't. I've tried. But I was optimistic for the Wisconsin game, and I learned my lesson. See, this is right back into the same thing. I apologize for it.
But 3 wins in a November or in an October that you predicted,
that's an incredible
that Purdue would go 3-1 in. Yeah. And so that means you've got to take the loss somewhere. And it was a loss against Wisconsin. It was the loss in the way that it was injury. It was all of this. And yeah, so like, what's your overall thing, not on the season, but just of October? Like, what's your the feeling that you're going into the bye week just of October?
You did not think they'd go 3-0 in the first 3.
No, I
will say that.
No, I did not. But that's the problem. Once they did it, I was like, they've gotten through some tough stuff here. It's really difficult to get 3-0 in this October.
This is a new Purdue, I believe.
This is a new Purdue. Two games on the road. This is excellent, right?
Oh, they never won Big Ten road games for years.
And I think we addressed this a little bit a couple weeks ago, and I know I addressed it on the quick cast. When Purdue gets to 3 straight wins, you're dealing with a pretty special thing. You get to 4 straight, you're dealing with very, very rare. 5 straight, I
can't remember that.
They started 5-0 in 2007. Remember when they got ranked?
the Curtis Painter
soft schedule,
painting a masterpiece.
Got smoked by Ohio.
But it's hard. It's hard to beat it's hard to beat air 5 times, right? College football is
that 2007 opening 5 games was pretty close.
Right.
You should look back. Anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about, look back at that 2007.
It was Dan Lefebvre and a couple.
And every game was like, oh, a MAC team 38-28.
Take me over, baby. It was prime Joe Tiller.
It wasn't like they were blowing teams out. No. And then the other 5-0 that I can think too is 2004. That was an impressive 5-0. Yeah. That was an impressive 5-0.
Yeah, but we won't talk about that. And again,
then the season ended, and
Purdue was crowned national champions by the Helms Foundation, and it's fine. It's fine. Nothing else happened.
I posted.
So let's shift our focus, like you're saying. October, very, very good.
Yeah.
Now you go to a part of the schedule where potentially you should really do some rolling.
So here's where the worry sets in, right? Because Brom teams always do better when it's underdogs, when it's kind of back against the wall, right?
Like that's why all but the Illinois game, right?
So Purdue has so far been the favorite 3 times this year and won all 3 games, right? So when they're the favorites, they've actually come in and won. So to their credit, again, they've kind of gone, they've kind of done that. You got a dog in the background?
Not me.
It looks, well, that's fine.
I have a dog. I literally have a dog in the background. Yeah, I thought you meant barking.
Yeah, okay. No, I thought it was barking. I thought
I have a dog in the background.
The BS dog was barking.
You can't. My microphone's in the way.
There you go. No, it's blending into this. It's camouflage. She's camouflaged. But now, kind of going into November, expecting 3-1 is a scary thing, right? Because it's like, I don't know, I don't know how. You're hoping for it, right? Iowa, bad. Like Iowa, legitimately bad.
I was bad, but I told you that's the game that I've been more afraid of. I'm still afraid of Iowa. So
yeah, because Iowa is, Iowa's
they've got
still
a reason
Iowa.
to be motivated. They've got
They've
a
got a
reason
great,
to be motivated.
so does Charlie Jones, but they've got a great defense, right? I mean, like I would say Charlie Jones was wronged by Iowa more than Iowa had been wronged by,
Right.
Charlie, right? But for
Right.
leaving, right? So
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, to me, it's like Iowa, you're hoping. Northwestern, Indiana have to be wins, and Illinois for the division, you've got to have it, right? And so
That's right.
those
Get over
first
that
two
first
games,
hurdle. Do what Brom teams do, which is come out well after the bye week. Look prepared in that final 4 weeks. Bromvember, show us that it's still a thing, right? Now the world's in front of you, right? Now you can do some pretty magical stuff just by handling your business. And you have to beat one team that's ranked. One, right? So that'll be 2 ranked teams they played all year. It was Penn State ranked at BSCs. I don't think they were.
Penn State, I think
I don't think so.
I don't
I
know.
think they were like 27th in votes.
Maybe.
So that's you beat Minnesota and Illinois. And this is the problem with the schedule. I said this to somebody because when I was on my rant, so I said it to LBD. I was on my rant in the car and I said, one of the things if you're into this sort of thing, which I always like seeing Purdue ranked just because they're a national story at that point. But by losing to Wisconsin, you've taken away the ability to be ranked.
Really. That's true. Yeah.
You'll be ranked if you beat Iowa and Northwestern, I think you'll be ranked. And then of course if you beat Illinois, you'll be they'll be 7-3.
But the order. I think they dropped pretty far in the votes, didn't they?
But the order of that matters, right? So next week, if it's Iowa, I don't think a win versus Iowa gets Purdue back to where they were.
Getting votes,
like
you mean?
pre-Wisconsin,
I think they're close.
Which is like
top 30,
30th, which is probably right. I think Purdue is probably the 30th best team. And
to your
this
point,
year,
people want to rank Brom. They like him.
People want to rank Purdue. People like Purdue. Like all of the AP voters like both Purdue, men's basketball and football sports, like programs. Coaches. They want to rank them.
I think they do.
Purdue keeps tripping over themselves, and so to me, it's that Iowa game. If Purdue goes 2-0, like into it, or sorry, Illinois. So you get Illinois, you get Iowa. That's it. I think that puts them that puts them around 20th to ish, I would say.
I mean, I hope you're right, but let's not forget, these are the same pollsters. I remind people all the time. It's the same pollsters that wouldn't rank Purdue after beating Tennessee in a bowl game.
Well, true.
That to me is just wild.
Is that the last time Tennessee lost a game?
This year? They beat Tennessee at home in a bowl game, get 9 wins, didn't lose to anybody they shouldn't have lost to last season, and they end the season without being ranked. That's the same voters.
You're right. That's
I really do think that nobody that they don't put as much into the bowl games.
Post bowl is like
clearly they didn't watch it. I mean, clearly it didn't matter. I mean, I've gotten in multiple discussions with people this week about the dominance of the SEC over the Big Ten in the last few years, and I said my favorite team beat the team that's top 3
that just beat Alabama
in their freaking backyard, and no one seems to remember it but me. Well, I was surrounded by idiots in orange. They all remember it.
They count it as a win. Paul Feinbaum counts it as a win, so they all count it as a win.
Paul Feinbaum, that's fine. That's good enough for me. So, yeah. So, yeah, my whole point is Purdue was really in a good position to put themselves where they could have been ranked throughout the season, really. If you handle your business, Wisconsin. But the weird thing about that game, again, so there are clearly mental blocks with some people in some situations. And maybe it's that maybe there's some sort of Wisconsin plus Aiden O'Connell equals bad, right? Equals poop emoji. Yeah. And so, man, that was a bad game. And he played a bad game last year. And he mentioned it in the post-game comments. But watching Dad on mute is hilarious. Arms just flail. I don't even know. When do I flail my arms?
Don't worry about it. You black out. It's fine.
You black out. So I want to steer us. Well, I don't want to steer us entirely away from the Wisconsin discussion because I made one of the questions to the Twitterverse around the Wisconsin game. But I do want to mention something unrelated because it's the anniversary today of, I put it on Twitter today and I said, is the Breeze to Morales throw, is that the most iconic single football play? Like if you had to pick one play for Purdue, is that the most iconic?
No. And I'll tell you what, see the old people. So this is going, there's no tape. I don't have tape of it, but there is tape of it because I've seen a video of this. But Purdue had to stop USC in a goal line stand to win the Rose Bowl. And Leroy Keys was in the game at defensive back, guarding USC's best receiver.
How do we not have video of this?
My brother has it. My brother did.
Oh, you got to clip this. You got to clip this for.
It's on. It's literally. It might be on VHS still. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, clip. But
there's ways to convert that.
It can be done. We gotta just hold your phone up to the thing. It's
exactly.
fine.
But I would. The problem is, so this is that recency bias we all have.
Recency. It's 22 years ago.
I know.
But it's
still much more recent than 1967, right? So yes, I would say for the modern era, and we can call that modern era, that's the most iconic play for Purdue football. But I would argue stopping USC from getting in the end zone in the Rose Bowl is not only more iconic but more important.
They were already there, as the 2000 team proved. Just getting there was the goal.
Roses in the helmet. Absolutely.
That was so. That play, no single play meant you're going to the Rose Bowl more than that play. Now I know they still had to beat IU and they still had to but it was also when you roll together. I think a lot of people forget how many mistakes Breeze made in that game, which was a calling card of Drew Brees. But he had 3 touchdowns and 4 picks, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah.
And one was what it looked like was going to lose the game, and then he went out there and did that and had the patience to go through those 4 reads and I said when I posted it, I said, I never don't watch this when I see it posted. I never don't watch it. Because it's
here's the weird thing. I still get I literally
Gary Danielson.
Physiological reaction. I literally get goosebumps.
The only thing again, and I think that if you were to rank them, those 2 moments versus the one I'm about to mention, that mine would be third. But the only other one worth mentioning is Rondale against Ohio State, right?
Well, that's what somebody said over here, and I
it didn't.
It is just again not for any rational reason other than what that game meant. To me, that's my favorite game that I've watched any of my team play.
That can be your favorite play, and I have no issue with that.
Right,
but it's because of everything else,
right?
What did it do to the trajectory of Purdue football? Nothing.
Oh no, I mean it did. Again, it
did because Purdue was
if you what did it do to the trajectory of Purdue football? If anybody puts a list of the top 10 games of the last 10 years, that's one of them. That's puts
fair.
Purdue.
That was Brom beating a ranked team. It was Brom proving that Purdue could win games that mattered.
It was Tyler and it was all.
Here, let's look at something else.
Behind those 2.
Without Breeze throwing that pass, he's not as much on the national radar. This is the thing. It's easy to say right now that was more important. But what that did for Drew Brees, the kind of springboard it did for him, right?
Yeah. By the way,
that also matters. I have a harder time with saying a game that gets Purdue to 4 or 5 wins at that point.
4 or 3, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and again, that's why it's not. I think not there, but yeah.
Our friend of the show, Michael, says that.
See, do you see what we were talking about with the hands gesturing down? You just knocked everything over. You knocked over. There's just dishes flying all around you. Do you see
Michael
this?
says for him it was Breeze to Isaac Jones in the Alamo.
That's an amazing play.
That's a great call because that was that was talk about changing. That did matter. That did, and wasn't it 97? Not 98?
That was the. Well, no. So
to be K-State,
whatever.
98 was.
It was December.
But I know what you mean.
Of 97. Yeah.
But I know what you mean.
That's a programming. That's a program changing.
Purdue gets to that 9 wins or 8 wins, and then goes to a bowl game against the number 4 team in the country, who thought they were way above Purdue.
Oh yeah.
And
their ego among those.
And to win that game, you're right. That is a great one. That's high on the list.
The funny thing is they handled their business versus Oklahoma State the previous year in a bowl game with Nick and a quarterback. And that wasn't any one play. They just beat them.
Right.
But there's
Kansas State,
play.
Michael is right. Kansas State was in 98 and 97 was Oklahoma State. Yeah.
Okay.
So we got
I had them backwards. Okay.
Yeah.
I stand corrected.
Yeah.
I've seen people, and so someone just put it in the side. I've seen this one put up before too. Sutherland scoring against Notre Dame. I think you're thinking of 2004. He says 97. Vinny Sutherland. Or is he thinking of the?
I
Oh
think
no,
he's thinking
97. Oh yeah, no, I know which one he means. Right. I was thinking you meant the
Oh
one.
yeah, is that a bubble?
I think it is, but now, you know what I was thinking of was the one in 04 when who celebrated starting at his own 40. Stubblefield. That's another one that
To me that's more iconic than the Sutherland one. So
if that season turns into what we thought it was gonna, then that play crushing Notre Dame
yeah.
on the way to a 5-0 start and whatever else.
And for those of you who don't understand the importance of being Notre Dame at that point, gosh, that was a big deal. Notre Dame hadn't really faltered yet officially. Like we didn't know how bad Notre Dame.
If you look it up, I believe they were still ranked. This wasn't like they were beating a Charlie Weiss. Maybe that was a Weiss team, but it wasn't like they were beating a bad Notre Dame team. They were beating a pretty talented Notre Dame team.
There was a really good Weiss team too. Let's not forget that. There was a really highly ranked Weiss team.
Yes,
right? Was it first or second year? Mm-hmm. And then they just completely became
bottom fell out. Yeah.
Oh, I love that Stubblefield play though because of like the imagery of it, of him just doing this for 50 yards.
That's what I remember.
Which today would get called back. There's no fun.
No, I mean you'd be kicking a 45-yard field goal for the extra point, but yeah, like wouldn't get called.
No. I think they changed it so you could call back.
You don't. You can't. No, you cannot call back a. You cannot negate the result of the play based on taunting, but you can, unless it like is sideline interference. But you can't
tackle them from the
sideline. Exactly. But you can, make them kick from midfield for the extra point.
Not that Purdue's had any experience with that this year.
I know.
Not the extra point, but the kickoff, wasn't it?
The kickoff at their own 20.
Mercy! It's like arena football. You're like, why are you kicking off from the goal line? When did this become a thing?
Yeah.
So, do we want to? You want to go to the Twitter machines? Because unfortunately, I don't.
Before we do it, while you gather your thoughts, let's just talk real quickly. So let's just do the transition. Will be Purdue played Community Day basketball, and Purdue basketball playing a bunch of zone defense, which doesn't make any sense. But we saw some interesting new faces in the process. If you were at that game, I would like you to. Can we give out our email address? Can we do that? Is it boiledsports@gmail.com?
That is our email address.
Indeed. If you were at the fan day, email me and I will get in touch with you. I want to hear your thoughts of that game because I want to get a on the ground perspective, because I'd like to talk about this or write a little bit about this based on what I'm hearing from sports writers. I'm hearing one thing that's very, very, the theme keeps coming up, and I'd like to hear more from somebody who's just the everyday fan. I'm interested in it, but good point, Jay. Good point.
I didn't say anything. What do you mean?
I know you didn't say anything.
Twitter machine.
Here we go.
So I said to our friends, I said, we have to have a little fun with Boiler Dad and talk about what has changed in the world since the last time Purdue beat Wisconsin. And this is not going to be as fun as we think.
This is not going to be fun at all.
This is
not going to be fun.
I gave them 2 assignments. I said, tell me how the world has changed, and tell me, because it's a Friday afternoon work day, please tell me your most hated work tropes and comments and stupid ass things people say at work. So, all right. The Noodle, and I don't know if this is true, he says, when Purdue last beat Wisconsin, MySpace had just gone live.
A thriving website currently.
It's still up. It's still a thing.
Shout out to MySpace Tom, the only founder of all of these poisonous social media sites that did it right. He got the $600 million check and he disappeared.
The world, right?
He's gone.
He's a photographer.
I read an article about him. He's super interesting. Like he just goes and does.
He's a photographer. He takes gorgeous pictures.
Almost like he has a couple $100 million in the bank and he doesn't have to do anything else.
Oh my gosh! I keep saying this to my son. I keep saying it. How many times are these coaches? You've made your millions. You don't have to do this anymore. Why do you keep going back into it? Why do you do it? You've got your crap together. You've got plenty of money to get. You're 65, 70 years old.
Ego.
It's ego.
I know.
Ego.
I know.
I want to be the star of the show.
The world cannot spin without them.
So Taylor Storm says that David Robinson was playing his final year in the NBA. And I got two more for you. So I thought up of a couple of my own, and I knew everybody would come through. But how about these? These are you're gonna love these. Eli Manning, his entire career in football, went on since the last time.
That's the same type of thing about Jim Sorgi, right? The rise and fall of a complete franchise happened during that time.
And I got one more. This'll just crush you. This will crush your soul. When Purdue beat Wisconsin, 2 weeks later, LeBron James played his first NBA game.
That was my go-to. Which is
so his career could be over before Purdue beats Wisconsin again.
Yep. Well, likely not, because he's probably going to play another 20 years. But yeah, sure.
Yeah, he's going to play it. Yeah,
he's showing signs that he may not be able to hold on for Bronny, right? Am I wrong?
No, he will be. The Lakers will not. They will be relegated.
It's incredible what's happening in LA. It is so awesome. And
LeBron is still averaging like 25 and 7.
Oh yeah, he's never going to not be a machine. But like
they're all so bad, and they're all blaming Russell Westbrook. Meanwhile, the rest of the team is just as bad. Like we have 14 bad players and LeBron James. That's it.
Bring up the Noodles comment here. This is a little bit more heavy, but it's good. The Noodle says, I think Saddam was out a month or two before the Wisconsin win. Nabbit. It's been a long time, guys. It's been a long time.
So you're saying he was watching the game?
That's right. That's right.
As far as he remembers, Purdue was pretty good against Wisconsin.
He was just watching game day. Oh, that Kyle Orton was his last thought.
Ryan Lanning points out that freshmen at Purdue were not alive.
Yeah, nobody on the team was alive.
Not nobody.
Actually, I think one.
Like 6th and 7th year guys. They were like
Aiden O'Connell. Aiden O'Connell's 24, so he was born in 98. So he was alive.
He doesn't remember it. He doesn't care. Remember it.
That's fair.
Gas was $1.59 in 2003.
There you go.
What else do we got here? I got other ones. I just got to find them now. We got a picture of a Nokia cell phone.
That's what I was rocking. I was rocking a blue Nokia cell phone, the pill-shaped ones, right?
Oh, I got one of those.
With the up and down button in the middle.
That was my first one. That was my first one.
It's a good cell phone. My first cell phone was a StarTAC, by the way.
There you go.
That was your first one?
Yep.
Man.
Yeah.
The last episode of Columbo aired. No, really, is what Doc McDoon said.
No, that can't be true.
No, it is true, because I remember looking this up once. That show was popular in the 70s and 80s. Right. And then they would bring it back for like movie of the week kind of stuff. Like every few years, they do like a 2-hour Columbo. And he was probably 80 by then. And he was still apparently We got a few on the request for the worst work tropes. Mm-hmm. So Nate says, let's workshop ways to piggyback that idea to hit the ground running in lockstep next week. Just putting it on your radar.
There you go. There you go. That's it.
Let's put a pin in that for now, says Alex Ward.
That's it. Circle back. I find myself saying these things that I don't say
in
real life.
Right. No, you don't say
I know
that.
human me does not say this. Why do I say this at work? It's so bad.
Robot work a niche.
John Faker, we really hit a nerve. He says, quote, as per my last email, which we all know means maybe you should read the things I send you.
You idiot.
He also said, people hit reply
moron.
all. People who hit reply all on every email, death penalty. And he said, people who have a simple question but CC your boss. Quote, hey, can I get a new keyboard for my computer? By the way, I CC'd your boss to snitch on you.
Yeah. Oh, shoot. That sounds like it cut too close.
A little bit.
And then I've got one more here from Sam Gapinski, who says, look at that. We're done a little early. I'll give you all 15 minutes back. Good thing, because I need a bio
minutes
break.
Back. It's like, no, that's not how this works.
I hate everything that was just said. I hate everything that was just said. Yeah, it's
such. Back.
Yes, that makes me grind my teeth. You're not giving me any time. In fact, the more you talk, the less time I have.
You're taking shit away from me every time you speak. Shut your hole.
Cubicle boiler down. I'd like to see this.
Oh, dude. Gosh.
No, you won't see that. Not if
man.
Anything goes to plan, it will never happen again. So it happened for 2.5 years. Never again.
So he can't be caged. He can't be
caged. Exactly.
Nope.
I'm a peacock. You gotta let me fly.
So
Wahlberg.
I know why the cage boiler dad sings. So we got a week off you can just enjoy college football this weekend, which is always a weird thing. Bye weeks. By the way, can I just throw another the bye week thing just reminded me of a factoid I wanted to share with you guys. First of all, remember I told you when Kansas was 5-0 that I didn't think they were going to make a bowl. They're 5-2. Still got plenty of time to get that 6th win,
but it doesn't look good.
Their starting quarterback is out, and he was kind of the engine of their team. And
let me also point out to you the weirdest anomaly I've seen on the schedule. They have back-to-back buys last week and this week. What? Who could not use 2 weeks in a row off? Maybe it's too much time.
What did they do? What did they do in the first week, or did they play in week 0 and then they didn't get a week off?
They must have played in week 0 because they've got 2 weeks in a row off. Because I was trying to look at my prediction and say, well, who are they playing next? And they weren't on the schedule 2 weeks in a row. I was like, how's that? But it's the Big 12, which is like Big 6 now or something. I don't even know how many schools are there. So they somehow aren't playing. I don't really get it.
Hey, could you bring up Michael Hogg's comment real quickly? Because this one hits me kind of hard.
Last time Purdue beat Wisconsin, Jake's was opening up.
Rest in peace.
Jake's is closed now. And it was open a long time.
And it was good. No, it's not like it was just a fly-by-night deal.
I love Jake's, man. That was my go-to.
Was Jake's the host of the coaches show at one point?
It was a host of some show, yeah. I forget what was there. Maybe.
I remember going there, I think, I was around because it was L-shaped. And I
so was the entire mall.
Coaches show there, I believe.
Yes. Yeah, Jake's was indeed good. But if you are looking for a place like Jake's, I would say go to
where would you go, Jay?
I would go to AJ's on Vine Street.
Oh my gosh. That's
good stuff.
Idea.
Is it good
stuff?
Do they have TVs?
Man. They have plenty of TVs. You can watch the games. You can have beers.
I bet they don't serve food though.
Oh, do they ever serve food? Anish can vouch for that. Man, I've seen Anish eating. He was like, "Can I have a double of that massive burger over there?"
I wasn't prepared. I wasn't correctly mentally prepared.
Funnel cake fries that I've yet to try, but if I'm back for a basketball,
did you get mac and cheese bites when you guys were there last time?
We got to go mac and cheese bites for the tailgate, my friend.
Dude,
chestnut checkers.
They're good.
Yeah, it was very good. So go by AJ's. Tell them that Bold Sports told you to come in.
Before you go over there, go to eatajs.com. Order ahead. Why not?
Yeah. You can order there, right? I don't even know.
I think so. I don't know.
Yeah.
I want to be in person.
If you're local, you can do it.
I think we should just order from there periodically, even if we're not there, and say, give it to the next guy that comes in. Say, if you can eat everything on this tray, it's yours. I think that's what we should start doing.
Or they've got to pay us back double.
Yeah, exactly.
I think
it's like the old 96.
Yeah. Kevin Pass says, I miss Garcia's Pizza. Garcia's Pizza has an interesting distinction for me in my life. The one date I went on after, so Mrs. Boiler Dad and I broke up when she was in high school. I was at Purdue.
And he was like, I'll show her, which you ladies.
It wasn't intended as that, but it seemed like it, Jay. Yes. And it made her jealous, and she begged for me back. Well, something like that.
That's how you remember it.
That's how I remember it. But I did go to Garcia's for that date, which is really weird. It's a weird side.
That was the one on the corner right there.
Yep. And they had very thick pizza. Like you ate a couple pieces of Garcia, and you were going to be sick at your stomach.
You were going to be sick.
Sounds like a great place for a date.
Oh, it's delicious. In college, to have something to truly gut bomb you in college, how many times did you get full in college for longer than 5 minutes?
Right.
What a feeling.
Eatajs.com is what our point was.
Anything else from you
guys? You feel good about it. November is what you're saying. Am I?
I'm nervous. I feel great about October. I mean, I was the one that predicted a 1-3 October after that FAU game, and so to me, it's like I feel great about where the season is relative to expectations.
Yeah.
But I'm nervous now because again, it's not back against the wall time anymore. It's like
East
now
Lafayette,
you've got to
Bizarro,
do it.
Purdue.
Exactly. Now you got to close.
So you guys remember this, and maybe so. Anish, you were a Purdue fan as a lad, so you have a bit of an advantage over Jay. Jay really became a Purdue fan as a student, correct? Is that true?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So we all remember Purdue being bad, is my point. Okay. and when Tiller came in to his time, at Purdue, year 2 or 3, I would just say, "Oh my gosh, they're 4-2. They're almost bowl eligible already. Just win 2 more." Like, that's all I cared about because I was like,
Right.
bowls were so
You've
rare
never
back
seen a
then.
bowl, yeah.
So I was like, just get there. To be 5-3, you're 1 win away from a bowl. It's pretty
And it's
great.
October still, right?
And it's
right.
still October. That's
I mean,
pretty darn awesome.
and back-to-back wins for the first back-to-back 8-win regular seasons for the first time in 25 years would be great.
Gosh,
You know what I mean? It's
crazy,
been
yeah.
25 years since that's happened.
But you got to win. That's no gimme. You got to win 3 or 4.
Got to
make that
win
happen.
3 out of 4, which is a lot. And I
Yeah.
do think that that's a reasonable goal.
Yeah.
You know, but now it becomes that 7 or 8 wins
I
is
gotta
like
tell you,
the, you know.
I got to tell you, there's a little thing. I'm trying to put it out of the back of my head that they beat Iowa, they beat Northwestern. Okay, those are believable. Then you go to Illinois and you pull out a win there, and then I could totally see that Indiana. Man, that is going to be Indiana's season right there.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
but
The idea of
it's going to be
holding
their
Purdue
season
from
anyway.
winning
They're
the
bad.
division to keep Purdue
It's
from
going to
winning
be their
games.
season anyway. But I think a win.
games,
I think going 3-0
man.
through there. No, but I think going 3-0 through
They will
that.
roll
You think
through
that locks
them.
it up,
They
Nate?
would
I think that
roll
locks
through
up
them.
the West. Yeah.
You think that would lock it up? Oh, can
I
you
think-
imagine going into how about this scenario? Going into the Indiana game, not needing it to go to the Big Ten title game, Purdue
Yeah.
would play so relaxed and
Oh,
would
yeah.
win by 40. Because if they don't need it, they're going to have a freaking great time. I actually do believe that a veteran team like this.
It's
with
so
these kinds of,
actually okay. Weirdly enough, I know that if you look at the November schedule, like the 4th out of 4 of these that we should be thinking about is Northwestern. Have you watched Northwestern this year?
I tried not
Speaking
to.
of East Lafayette Bizarro, do you
they're
know
terrible.
they run 95 plays a game? Yeah, Northwestern under Pat Fitzgerald, they run 95 plays a game. They are one of the fastest paced offenses in the country. They're bad, but it's so
Are they
strange
trying to
watching
be? They're trying to be Tennessee next year. Is that the goal?
I don't know.
They're
I mean,
trying
like,
to
yeah, I guess it might be. This
one of
is
the
like Pat
Suns'
Fitzgerald. Yeah,
7
this could be.
seconds or less offense.
Yeah, Pat
Just get
Fitzgerald
out there
kind of
and run
changing
it.
it up. Yeah, exactly. He's got tenure there, right? They're not going to
Oh, yeah.
fire him, so
Oh,
like
he's fine.
he might as well try some stuff.
They'd be idiots to fire him. He should be there as long as he wants.
Yep.
Like he's allowed a couple complete crapper seasons, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like he's won 10 games or what, 2 or 3 times?
Yeah. I think it's
Yeah.
3.
And he's been in the Big Ten title game. As long as you want to be here, buddy.
Carte blanche.
Like
At Northwestern, again, we're talking about
Northwestern.
we're talking about worst jobs in the country now because it's in the Big Two. Like, you know, it's not as bad as some bad jobs, but like, yeah.
Not that I want to start a new conversation, but is that the worst job in the Big Ten?
It's the worst
Or is
job.
IU?
In the Big,
I think I use worse.
IU might be worse because it's harder to recruit. I think Northwestern can say, look at the last 20 years.
I
been in
do
the Rose
actually.
Bowl.
Northwestern, you can do that, like, hey, pseudo smart kid recruiting too. Right?
No,
Like,
but I think that makes it a challenge, right?
I think
Like,
there are smart kids, by the way, at Northwestern. I really do.
Yeah, so like I think it makes it harder to get into. It's the Stanford Notre Dame thing that all of them complain about nonstop, which is
Right.
like you've got to get into the school first, which is
speaking of
whatever.
Stanford Notre Dame, it's interesting that you brought that up. How did that game go?
Oh, I missed it. Could somebody tell me what happened? Notre Dame doing well, probably. It pains me. It pains me, man. It hurts. I want him, but he can always come home. He can always come home.
Oh,
The funny thing is, you just interrupted yourself, but you said exactly what you meant. I want him. I want him.
I did. We love.
You said everything.
We love
I want
Freeman.
him.
We love him. He's the
You
best.
want him.
We
You
love
want
him. We
him.
want him to be successful in all endeavors.
It's not
but
there.
his
Dude,
just not at Notre Dame. And if at
I don't
Notre
know
Dame,
if there's
just
been a
for
handsome
sure it's-
a football coach that's that handsome. I'll be real honest.
He's real handsome, man.
Real handsome. Real good.
Maybe
shape.
Cliff Kingsbury? He's up
Yeah,
there.
good point. Good point.
Cliff.
Yeah,
probably
Cliff,
like a
Cliff
3-horse
Kingsbury
race.
literally got
Yeah.
fired from his job and
For
got
underachieving.
promoted up because he's handsome. That's how handsome Cliff Kingsbury is.
And only to like a sunny, warm climate too. He didn't get hired to somewhere cold and miserable. He got hired where there's pretty people. It's sunny in Arizona, and they were like, "Hey, this guy would fit right in."
Yeah.
There's no reason to hire that guy. He's there or L.A.
Is he fired at the end of the season? He will be, right? This is it.
It's hard to see him surviving this, but
Yeah.
who
I
knows?
don't know. He's
Ownership's
real
not really
handsome.
right there. So
He's
I-
real
Next,
handsome.
they'll probably get the
Be like-
Patriots job.
Yeah, right. He'll be the commissioner of the NFL or something. He'll fall off.
It doesn't make any sense.
Nope.
Why they hired him still is nonsense.
His own players hate him now. It looks like Kyler Murray wants to kill him.
Oh my gosh, that argument they had. Holy moly, was that fun?
So great.
And I think
man.
that looks like it's something that has happened multiple times, doesn't it? It doesn't look like that was the
Oh, yeah,
first
that
time it boiled
oh,
up,
no,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I think we've done enough damage for today. I don't know about you guys, but
It's been great. I appreciate everybody that tuned in live. That's a big you guys made big sacrifice. Probably had a lot of work to do.
Oh, yeah.
Get yourself away on a Friday afternoon.
Time out.
Gosh,
On the
thank you
conference
guys.
room. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We'll be back next week to talk about Iowa and Purdue. Ooh, Iowa, Anisha's favorite program. We'll let Anisha
I
have the
love
floor
them.
to kick off the
No,
next podcast.
yeah. Maybe I'll do a solo show. Maybe I'll do a solo 90-minute show. Just
Fun. Let's go.
talking about how just a cesspool that place is.
Well, until we meet again, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for everybody live and listen to it tape as well. Thanks to our sponsors, Martin Vintage and AJ's. And I love you guys. Good afternoon.